Now, once they held Nanjing, the Taiping set out to accomplish their ultimate goal, the final defeat of the Manchu demons in Beijing. But when the Taiping took Nanjing, a lot of internal strife began to emerge amongst the leaders. While Hong Xiuquan was the undisputed religious and political leader of the Taiping, he was never alone. And although many key figures had died at this point, a few major ones had remained. So we're going to bring up my favorite character, Yang Xiuqing, who was the Eastern King. He's going to be quite the thorn. There was also Wei Changhui, the North King, and Shi Dakai, the Flank King. So these are the largest three leaders. And Yang
Right now,
Xiuqing,
they are technically the only surviving kings at this particular moment.
yes,
Correct?
there's going to be new characters, but these are like the prominent guys that go back all the way to the time of when they were just in these small villages in Guangxi. So Yang Xiuqing established himself as the highest ideological leader, even above his fellow Wei Changhui, and in many ways actually above Hong Xiuquan. If you don't, in one of the previous episodes, I mentioned Yang Xiuqing. The way that he got himself into basically power was he would go into trances, and he said that God spoke through him. And his fellow compatriot Wang Changhui, I believe, he also said that Jesus spoke through him in another way. But anyways, people believed Yang Xiuqing that he kind of was the voice of God whenever he did these trances, and we're going to get into that pretty soon. Now, back when Xiao Chonghui, who was the Western king, died, Hong Xiuquan issued a proclamation granting Yang supervisory roles over the other kings, so he could kind of be their manager in a lot of ways. And this obviously elevated him over the rest. Shi Dakai somewhat filled the void left by Xiao Chonghui's death as the flank king. And he's honestly, of the figures, he's the one who's like kind of now the military arm of the entire rebellion. He's the only one who's actually always engaged in the field. The other kings kind of, they just sit in Nanjing. And he's personally going to be directing a campaign that we'll get into. Hong Xiuquan, he's the spiritual leader, but he was always at the forefront of all actions, and he was always in front of the people. But as soon as they take Nanjing, he actually gradually isolates himself within his palace, and he starts to act through proclamations, which is exactly how the emperors in China did things. Not a good look. Wei Changhui, the North King, he acts as a coordinator for the defense of the region around Nanjing. He's also responsible for the food supply situation, and this would leave general administration and supervision in the hands of Yang Xiuqing, who would serve as the coordinator of all military campaigns, chief of staff, I guess you could say. Now, back in the early days of the movement, Yang Xiuqing had unified the Taiping when he would enter his trance-like states, claiming to be the mouthpiece of God, the Father. Similarly, Xiao Chonghui had trances where he claimed to be the mouthpiece of Jesus. So they were actually working hand in hand. And to be very blunt and obvious, these two guys were probably con artists working together to try and, take the top position of this entire movement. And they did a lot of role playing. So, and they would use this against Hong Xiuquan.
I guess they would have really liked Discord servers nowadays.
Yeah. So when they would speak to Hong Xiuquan in their trances, they would refer to him as younger brother because they're playing the characters, and Hong Xiuquan is the younger brother of Jesus Christ in their world. And Yang would refer to him as son. They were collaborating clearly and using this, to get through. But when Qiao died, there was a lot of confusion, leading Yang to temporarily stop acting as the voice of God. So Yang kind of put that on the back burner for a while. However, once they had Nanjing, he began to do it again.